everyone. Today we're painting lace flowers, and I thought that that would be a nice summer challenge because these flowers are very delicate and have a lot of detail. So let's get started. So I already have a gessoed panel that I have a light layer of pink paint on, and I'm just going to use 3 or 4 colors of paint. So I just have a Payne's gray. And then it's important to use a pretty dark green color. And I'm using a phthalo green and a transparent orange, and then 2 whites. I have a zinc white and a titanium white. And the zinc white is more transparent than the titanium white. And I'm using a sable flat brush, number 14, and then another bristle brush that is dried and hardened that I use one of the corners of it for sketching. And I'm just going to take my phthalo green and just do the back side of one of these lace flowers. So the back side is where you can see the veins, and then the top is going to be the one in the foreground is going to be facing forward and going to have more of the white lace flowers showing. And then I'm going to do one of these little curled up bunches as well, where you can't really see any of the flowers there, but it's just a bunch of stems basically. And you can't see it, it's off the camera, but there's like a little grassy spiky flower, and it just was in there. I just picked these out of my backyard, and I'm not sure what that was, but some sort of grass that bloomed. All right, so again, it's important to use a fairly dark, like a sap green, or if you want to make your own green, maybe like Payne's gray and a transparent yellow, something that'll be pretty dark. And then I'm just using this earthy orange color. You could really use a red or any other kind of complementary background color that you want. This is just the combination I chose, and it's going to be a very loose, painterly, not too fussy picture. Now I'm doing this kind of just for time's sake to keep it short. It's going to be quite loose, but you could take this, depending on how much time you have, you could go into a lot more detail and a lot more accuracy with the details as well, as far as filling in all the spaces. I leave a lot of the pink background, as you can see, and even with the details of the stems, I'm just doing a very loose interpretation instead of every single detail of every branch or stem and part of the flower. So that's kind of the beauty of these lace flowers, is I basically just showing you that it's not that intimidating, and it's kind of a fun challenge as well, because it really gets you to look at the subject matter. And these kind of flowers, and it doesn't, these are Queen Anne's lace, but there's other, I mean, even a lot of flowers this time of year, it's August here in the Northern Hemisphere, so a lot of things are going to seed, and they'll have these lacy type flowers blooming. So it could be anything besides Queen Anne's lace as well. A lot of people can find different similar flowers, but I think for a lot of people they're kind of intimidating to paint because they don't have traditional petals, and it just seems like where do you start? So I start with the stems, because that's where and then sometimes I will for the sake of composition, maybe put a few marks to show where my leaves will, like you could even do a circle around the area where your flower will be, just to map it out, I guess you could say, even though you're going to paint over a lot of those lines. And then it's just a lot of fun, taking as much or as little time as you want, filling in the white flowers. And you don't want to use pure white ever when you're painting white flowers. It's usually different grays. And I use also a light green portion for some of the white lace flowers, because it's going to be lighter than the background orange, but as you can kind of see, it's a green that I'm using. It's a light green as part of the whites, and that's going to be the shadow areas of the white flowers. So right now I'm painting the little stems on the curled up flower that was at the bottom left side. And then now I'm just adding a lighter color of the white mixture to this open flower. And this is the one that's facing away from me. So you're seeing the underside of the flower. And so I'm trying to keep those green stems. And I noticed that it's not just a bunch of random white dots. They come in little bunches of like 5 or 6. So I'm trying to group them the way they look on the flower. And you could even make it more dramatic by using an even darker background. And again, you could use a purple or you could use a gray, but you don't want it too light that, like if I had left it the light pink, you wouldn't be able to see the lace flowers at all. So in that case, if you did want to do something like this on a lighter background, you'd have to probably do some sort of sketching of each of the individual, or a lot of the individual lace flowers, so that you would see the separation between them and the background, because the background would be almost the same value as the lace flowers. So those are some things to keep in mind. You can make this as bright or as toned down as you want, and it really doesn't take a lot of different colors either. So this is just a color combination I chose, but you could use you basically just need the green and the white, and the rest is up to you. So you could even experiment with different combinations. You also, though, do need to make sure that the stems are a very important part of the structure of this painting. So you don't want something too close to the color and value of the stems either, because and if you went more dark, you might need to lighten some of the stem area just to make it stand out. All right, so just taking the corner of my flat brush, and again, this is a sable brush, so what's nice about it is this is a very smooth panel, so it just glides right over the surface easily. If you could do this on a canvas, and you'd probably use a bristle brush then. The sable would be too soft. And you could be as intricate as you want and do as many flowers as you want. I think it would be helpful if I would have gotten more of the stem, and like if this were 5x7 even, so that I could have some of the stem and maybe a few of the leaves at the lower end of the stems. Would have been helpful instead of just the tops. But hopefully you can see how easy it is to really do a lace flower. And I'm sorry that I cut off right here, the very bottom of the painting that I'm working on, so you can't see exactly. I also am going to be signing down in the corner. So I think right now I'm just going to add a little more detail and just finish it up. One thing that is a challenge is you need a pretty new and well-groomed brush so that you can make thin lines. If your brushes are all worn out, it's going to be really hard to make thin lines. I'm just making one more batch for the highlights with a lot of the titanium white in it. And I think it has a little bit of the orange in it, so that it's just like a really warm highlight. And it kind of looks like yellow, but it's just the orange I use. Let me get the name. It's a specialty orange. Yeah, but, it's by Sennelier. It's called, let's see if I can read it. Chinese Orange by Sennelier. But again, you don't have to use this color. You could use any background color you want. But I do like this orange because it looks very natural and like something that you would possibly see in nature. All right, I think I'm about done. The last thing I'm going to do is take my palette knife and kind of just flick it a couple times to add a little more to the lace effect of the painting. Especially a lot of times these lace flowers, when I bring them in to my house, they will start shedding, so it's kind of that effect. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching.